Honestly, Tottenham are just embarrassing themselves now. They're in full-blown panic mode, and all the reputable transfer journalists are spewing out the leaks coming from the club in an enormous scattergun mess. If there was a transfer strategy at the beginning of this window, it has gone well and truly out of the window now, as you can sense the club's absolute desperation to get somebody over the line in an attempt to appease both the manager and the fan base. Meanwhile, Daniel Levy has decided to give back the transfer kingdom keys to a convicted football criminal. And it looks like we may be about to sell one of the players that we've known we were trying to sell for the last 3 or 4 months. Just another day at Spurs in today's episode of Daily Tottenham Transfer News. Guys, thank you so much for watching and listening wherever you are. Please do give this video a like. Please do press subscribe and click that notification bell. And also, I'm now not far away from 20,000 subs. So if you're not a subscriber already and you like my content, please do press that subscribe button. We're on the road to 20,000 subs now. And just one more thing. I do all my watch-alongs now on BigUp, which you can find in the description box. There's a link there. Just come on over and join the community for every single Spurs game, starting, of course, with the Bournemouth game on Saturday. But let's get going with the Tottenham transfer news. And Don Fabio Paratici is coming back full time. He is going to return after the window shuts to lead recruitment. He's been working as a consultant for a while now, including across this window. And the return had previously been called hypothetical or speculative, but now it is guaranteed. All of the Tottenham transfer journalists are reporting it, and he's likely to start officially in September or October. How do you guys feel about this? For me, it feels like it was inevitable, but also just not to be cynical or not to come across as cynical, but again, just a decision really that optically for Daniel Levy and the club does not look great. I don't doubt for a minute that Don Fabio Paratici is, he's good at what he does, and he has brought in some very important players for Tottenham. He's had a few duds as well, Brian Hill, Pierluigi Gallina, to name but two. But that's always going to happen when you're leading recruitment. But the fact that he was found guilty of a load of crimes to do with fraud and the like, and stuff in Italy, and was banned from football for a long time. I just think optically for Spurs, can you not find somebody else? But, Daniel Levy has never cared about optics, and that's why he's made so many decisions down the 20, 25 years that he's been chairman that have come back to bite him. And I fear that this might be another one that comes back to bite him, as it already did when he appointed him previously. And then he's had to have him on as a kind of, consultant for the last couple of years, which again, doesn't look great. He's supposed to be completely banned from football, but Spurs having him at every game as a consultant. But anyway, we probably need Don Fabio Paratici now more than ever, as in the last, what are we at? 5 days of the transfer window. It is full-blown panic stations. And I'll give you a good example of that. Late last night, Fabrizio Romano announced that Antoine Semenyo of Bournemouth has been discussed internally in the last 24 hours at Tottenham, but they're aware it would be a difficult deal. Yes, it would be a difficult deal because Antoine Semenyo signed a new 5-year contract about 6 weeks ago at Bournemouth. So if Spurs wanted Antoine Semenyo, you have to go in hard before he signs that new contract and prove to him that the project is right to him. But they clearly didn't do that hard enough. He signed a new deal there. There was interest in him back then from Chelsea as well, and Manchester United, I think. And he's had a brilliant start this season to Bournemouth. Obviously, he's coming to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium at the weekend. What is it with Spurs? Are they only kind of looking to buy players where they're actually going to be in a room with the chairman of the opposing club? Like, they're interested in Savinho because they knew they were playing Man City last week, and they've got Bournemouth this weekend. So they're like, oh, tell the transfer journalists that we're interested in Semenyo. It's so scattergun and panicked. It is embarrassing. The only thing I can think of as to why Semenyo's cropping up in Romano's reports now is there a release clause in that new contract he signed? And if that release clause is, let's say, £75 million, which obviously would be by £15 million Tottenham's transfer record, that is a reason I could see them talking about it now, because they'd be like, oh, we haven't got anyone we want to get. Savinho is, Man City are waiting to try and find a replacement. Rodrigo doesn't want to go to them, and Man City are asking for about £75 million. So if we're willing to spend £75 million on Savinho, should we go and plonk it down in Bournemouth and say, actually, we'll put that down for Semenyo? Even then, do we have any evidence to suggest that Semenyo would want to come, having just signed a 5-year deal? So it just sounds, completely panicked and bonkers to me. Listen, don't get me wrong. He's a fantastic player. And I've been wanting us to sign him for about 2.5, 3 years. He's so powerful and pacey. He's a brilliant finisher. His vision is great. The runs he makes are fantastic. And he would be another player like Kudus, like when we were talking about Eze, like Savinho, who if we had him in that final third, we would have alongside Kudus players who can really hold the ball up, who can really take it off their fullbacks, and draw kind of 2 or 3 opposition players to them, and then open the ball out, either beat them for pace or open the ball out to find space for others. But why is this happening in the last 4 days of the transfer window? I saw a really good tweet, and I can't remember who it's from, so apologies. But somebody tweeted yesterday how Daniel Levy is basically a relic of a bygone era. Kind of 10, 15 years ago when Spurs were properly a selling club, then Levy was the person you wanted in charge because he was such a tough negotiator and he'd get so much money for these players. Remember how much we got from Stoke for Kevin Wimmer, for instance, and all the kind of deals he did where we got Vorm and Davis from Swansea in a kind of 2-for-1 deal, etc., etc. He was great back then, and he made Spurs a lot of money. But since those days, he has been left behind. And this kind of feeling he clearly has that all the best deals get done late in the window. It's not true anymore. It's so different now. And I'll give you a good example of that. We may not be looking for any free transfers right now, but there are so many players now who are available on frees who just don't sign within the transfer window, and often they'll take a year out. That wouldn't have happened before, but the reason it's happening now is players earn so much money that they don't necessarily need to sign for a club. They've got enough. And that is the amount of money that has now gone into football. And the same thing as I said yesterday, these clubs do not need to sell to Tottenham Hotspur anymore because they've got the money to keep those players. And therefore, I just completely disagree with Daniel Levy's feeling that clearly still exists, that all the best deals get done in the last week. It doesn't. They don't. And we are being embarrassed. And the longer this goes on, 4 or 5 days left, the more I'm sure we're going to end up with nothing. And I honestly, I wouldn't have said that a couple of weeks ago. But the more I look at it, the more it's just this scattergun release of links. But these clubs are going to hold Spurs over a barrel, and none of them are going to be able to find replacements. But, the reports continue, the rumors continue, and as if it couldn't get bonkers enough with the Semenyo link, yesterday, Fabrice Hawkins and Fabrizio Romano talked about how Adrien Rabiot, now of Marseille, previously of Juventus, French international, has held talks with Spurs. He's been offered to several clubs. Romano says Tottenham are not in concrete negotiations for him. Listen, Adrien Rabiot, undoubtedly a gifted player, but he is a walking suitcase in terms of he's got so much baggage. He's fallen out with people at every club, every international manager he's fallen out with. When he gives up that player, he properly gives up. And in terms of Thomas Frank having a no dickheads policy, Adrien Rabiot would not only be the biggest dickhead at Spurs if he came, he's the biggest dickhead in football, basically. His mother is his agent, and no problem, but she cannot keep her mouth shut in the press. She talks to him in the press and has done for years, and it's just, it's annoyed every club he's been at and every manager he's played for. And honestly, if Spurs took Adrien Rabiot, he'd be on massive wages. The reason he's leaving Marseille is because he had a fight with Jonathan Rowe, the former Norwich player, and they've both been bombed out by De Zerbi. So honestly, I'm hoping that is just kind of his agent, his mother, kind of trying to leak rumors to the press to try and get him another club, and saying that because Spurs are desperate for players at the moment that they're talking to Spurs. But that would not be a good move. It's a shame because physically, in terms of what he can do on the pitch, incredibly gifted. But even if he had a good start at Spurs, he's going to ruin the dressing room at some point. So that would be bad. More from Romano yesterday on Tottenham having made more calls to understand the situation of Lucas Paquetá. He's appreciated by the club. Well, of course he's appreciated by the club. He's a brilliant player. I do have my doubts as to whether he would work off the ball as hard as Thomas Frank would need him to. But I think over and above that is, why are West Ham going to sell Lucas Paquetá to us with 4 days left of the transfer window? They've already lost Mohamed Kudus to us. Graham Potter is in all sorts of trouble. Jared Bowen, after a League Cup defeat to Wolves last night, was trying to get into the fans to have a fight. West Ham are in the mud at the moment, and it would only multiply by 50 if they sold their best player to us. And I can't see it happening. So why are we even being, linked? Spurs, again, Alex Crook says, considering an approach to sign Lucas Paquetá, Graham Potter doesn't want to lose him, but West Ham would consider bids that exceed 60 million for the midfielder. I mean, all I can say is if West Ham are looking to consider bids at 60 million pounds plus for Lucas Paquetá, they must be in some serious profit and sustainability rules issues, because otherwise you just cannot see them countenancing that. He scored an absolute worldie for them against Chelsea. He's their best player alongside Jared Bowen by far. And it's mad. More reports yesterday that Spurs are lining up a shock swoop for Chelsea target Xavi Simons, who's expected to leave Leipzig. Well, he's been expected to leave Leipzig all summer. He's waiting for Chelsea. Meanwhile, Chelsea still going in for Garnacho and looking to sell players. They still haven't been able to get rid of Nkunku. It's a bit of brinksmanship now, isn't it, with the last few days? There are so many players around Europe who are looking for other clubs. And this is what Daniel Levy is really holding on for. He's hoping that, there's going to be a fire sale in the last, over the weekend. But I don't know. I would be incredibly surprised if Xavi Simons came to Spurs. Is he a good player? Yes, undoubtedly. Great player. Dutch international, scored a worldie for Holland against England in the Euros. But he's been holding out for Chelsea the whole time. Does he really want to come to Spurs? Maybe because he wants to come to the Premier League if Chelsea is completely ruled out. But I think once Chelsea get rid of Nkunku and maybe one or two others in the next couple of days, they will go back in for him. And maybe it's another one where Spurs will get embarrassed at the last. So I think just leave him alone, Levy. Next up, Ademola Lookman, one of several players offered to Spurs. They are yet to make a move because they're waiting on a final decision from Manchester City for Savinho. However, Lookman would be keen to move to North London. Obviously, he's at Atalanta. He's done incredibly well in Serie A since he moved there. Scored the winner in a Europa League victory for Atalanta. But I've said it before, I'll say it again. His record in the Premier League hasn't been great. Look, he'll be more confident now for sure. But do I look at Ademola Lookman as a perfect player for Spurs? I don't. But what I would say is there are some other Tottenham content creators who I really respect who do think he's a good option. Some who even think he's a better option than Savinho. But he doesn't move the needle for me. Doesn't excite me. Magnez Akliouche from Monaco also still on Tottenham's list. Spurs' hopes of signing Savinho, according to The Athletic, from Man City are resting on him. Being able to replace him with Rodrigo from Real Madrid. For that to have a chance to materialize, the Brazilian would have to tell Real Madrid that he wants to leave, which to date has not happened, meaning that Savinho is currently on course to stay in Manchester. I did a TikTok when Spurs were heavily linked with Eza and Savinho on the same day and looked like it was apparently getting close. I did a TikTok where I was like, oh, of course this deal will happen. Just like fully sarcastic. What could possibly go wrong? We'll definitely get these players who Spurs fans would love to have over the line. And now, what a surprise. It looks like we're going to get absolutely neither of them. Absolute laughingstock Tottenham at the moment. News about Nico Paz yesterday. After all the reports that Spurs have put in numerous bids, the Como president has come out and said that neither Tottenham nor any other club have actually placed a bid for him. He said, it's not true that we've rejected any proposals. Nobody makes an offer knowing that we must forward it to Real Madrid, who can match it. At some point, we feared Nico Paz could return to Real Madrid. He was raised in the Madrid academy and dreams of playing at the Bernabeu one day. I mean, what does that tell you other than just get your hell out of there, Spurs? That is not a deal that's going to happen. You're fishing in waters that are not going to help you. Move on. Fabio Paratici, one of the good things he has a list of 10, 12, 15 players in each position. Move down the list. Don't waste any more time on these players who are clearly not going to come to Tottenham this summer. Now, let me give you almost the most bizarre or the most bonkers rumor of the last 24 hours that continues to carry on, which I think is the most unlikely of all of them. Spurs accelerating in a move to sign Morgan Rogers from Aston Villa. Tottenham hoping to agree a cut price deal due to the Villains' financial problems. Now, one thing I will say is that Aston Villa do have a huge wages to revenue ratio in the 90% margin. And actually, PSR, which is currently the profit and sustainability rules system, is stopping after this season, and it's changing to a percentage wages to revenue system. So Aston Villa are going to have to massively lower their wages at some point. But are they really going to sell Morgan Rogers to Tottenham Hotspur with 3 or 4 days left of the transfer window. And what would Spurs have to pay? I tell you now, very minimum 80 million. And I think Villa would be looking for 100 million. Can you really see Daniel Levy in these last few days opening out the checkbook for 80 million pounds? I can't. Interesting, though, that Aston Villa have also been linked with Lucas Paquetá, according to Mail Sport. And I do wonder whether maybe they are looking at trying to get a big fee for Rodgers to bring in Paquetá at a cheaper fee and maybe making a profit of like 30 or 40 million pounds. But listen, look, if Spurs got Morgan Rodgers in, I think it would appease a lot of the fan base at this point, but I just can't see it happening. Villa are also hamstrung by the fact they didn't make it to the Champions League. They were really expecting to. So, they have sold Jacob Ramsey. They were looking, weren't they, to sell the keeper. He hasn't gone out the door. Who knows? Never say never, but basically never. Spurs have also made a loan inquiry for Kang-in Lee. I talked about this yesterday. He's one I could imagine us getting through the door from Paris Saint-Germain. But let's see what happens. Now to the sales, guys. Yves Bissouma looks like he's going to join Galatasaray. Not an unexpected move. If I saw him going anywhere, it was Turkey. It's going to be a loan with an obligation. Negotiations are at the final stages and personal terms have been agreed. Yves Bissouma put in an amazing 3-game run at the back end of the Europa League victory march last year, and I will forever be grateful for him. He's an incredibly talented player. Such a shame he just does not have the concentration or maybe the desire to really put a run of games together. But I think, we bought him for what, 30 odd million pounds. I think what will we get? Maybe 10 or 15 back. And he helped win us that Europa League. So I wish you all the best, Yves Bissouma. You're the king of the vibes. But as Thomas Frank comes in and looks for players who are a little bit more serious, it's the right time for you to go and join Davison Sanchez FC over there in Turkey. And then finally, just a move that doesn't directly involve Spurs. Japhet Tanganga has joined Sheffield United from Millwall for £7 million. I think Tottenham will have a sell-on fee, a little bit of a sell-on fee in that, because we let Tanganga go for very cheap to Millwall. So there should be a little bit of money in there for Spurs. But good luck to Japhet Tanganga, a Spurs Academy graduate, of course. All right, guys. Enjoy your Wednesdays if you can. Thank you so much for watching. Do give the video a like and press subscribe. I'm on the road to 20,000 subscribers now. So if you're not a subscriber and you like my comment, please do press that subscribe button for daily Tottenham Hotspur transfer news and all the news and views from White Hart Lane. And also come and join me on BigUp, where I'll do all the live watch-alongs to every Spurs game. The link is at the top of the description box. Just paste that link into the browser and press the join the community button. Enjoy your Wednesdays. Come on, your Spurs.